Well, good morning. This is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred. I thought we would do an update on flowers, and more flowers. It is a beautiful morning here in Pennsylvania. The humidity's low. It's around 9 o'clock in the morning. And so I thought I would visit the garden this morning, and I hope you could join me. I thought with the sun being low, there's not as much reflection, and so honestly I couldn't resist being out here in the garden taking this film. And my dog Bailey here, he's always likes to be along my side, and so hopefully he'll join us as well. So let's just take a walk over here and we'll take a look at my newly discovered pumpkin patch here. I forgot I had actually grew these in the spring. I sometimes buy plants and throw them in the soil, and well, these were one of the ones I forgot, and so here's the label I found. It is a pumpkin jack-o'-lantern, so heirloom variety. So hopefully we'll be getting some more pumpkins here, so we'll have plenty to share. Some of the flowers on them are just beautiful. I love the color yellow. It just seems such alive. So I thought we'd take a tour through my garden and let's look at some of these plants that produce these beautiful flowers. I do love these red Canna Lilies. I buy them for about $4 a piece and from a local nursery, and what's nice is that you can dig them up come the fall, and I store them in a plastic tub and put them down my basement. And then come spring, I plant them out again, and so it's just so wonderful to see these beautiful colors radiating through your garden. I probably bought about 20 of these Canna Lilies for the first time, and I was so glad that I did, because it causes the garden to just burst with colors. And what's nice again is you can reuse them for the following year. It also draws in the butterflies and the hummingbirds. Well, the hummingbirds love the color red. Take a walk over here at the butterfly bush. Some of these reseed themselves, and I end up replanting them for the following year, which always works out nice. I also have here is I don't quite know the name of it, but they're miniature pumpkins. And you can see one tucked in down there. So they'll be fun to use come the fall. So anyhow, let's continue our tour here. I think I just heard a hummingbird fly through past my ear. Maybe the camera picked it up. There's those nuggets of gold there, nuggets of sweetness. The sun gold tomatoes. Some of them were ripe and I ate them. There's quite a few more tomato trusses that are bringing these ready to ripen. Each of those trusses hold about 12 tomatoes, and they're about every 12 inches apart, so we'll probably get a good 100 tomatoes from at least that one plant. These are some vinca plants flowers that I planted here just to give the garden a nice burst of color. And I love my elephant ears. They really add a lot of drama to the garden. I have a wisteria vine growing up there. Planted that last year, so it's starting to get its feet in the ground some. Up there we have some Roses Sharon growing. They're in bloom, so it's beautiful to see the burst of colors. Purples, the whites. I see Bailey over there, he's sniffing around the garden. So let's continue on over here. I just love how the sun glistens on some of the flower petals. We just planted this clematis here in the spring. It's growing rather nicely. I love how the purple colors contrast with the white trellis. Last year we had the morning glory vines growing up here, and they just totally overtook everything. And I'm not sure if you've listened to my reviewed the Beware of the Morning Glory vine video yet, but we opted not to grow them this year because they just take over everything. And so I planted some more lilies there in the corner just to break up the hard corners there on the building. I'll be taking those out come the fall. So let's continue up here. A nice little rose bush there my wife planted this year. We're starting to plant the roses as an experiment, and they seem to be doing pretty well this year. And we also have this cactus that seems to come back every year, and it's really spread out quite nicely. It adds some nice texture and color to the garden. It did have a beautiful yellow flower about a month ago. Maybe someone can tell me what type of cactus that is. And then we have your beautiful zinnias. These are like a dwarf zinnia, so they don't get real tall. In the years past we've had the real tall ones, and they kind of just take over a little bit, but these are like a little colorful bush bursting with color. And we love our birds. We have the hummingbird. They've been coming to the feeder rather nicely. And the bird feeder, we use the black oil sunflower seeds. We get the cardinals and the chickadees and the woodpeckers. We usually put out a suet cake. So let's continue on here. I wanted to show you our hibiscus plant here is starting to really blossom. And so the colors are just beautiful. Just amazing how the colors are so deep and rich. You can hear the pond fountain in the distance. And down here we have a little garden fountain I built out of a tub and a little container fountain pump. I hope to do maybe a video on how to build these backyard fountains sometime in the future. Maybe do a video on how to construct those, because it's very inexpensive. You put them on a timer. Here in the foreground we have some portulaca. Right now they're not opened up yet, but they're what you would call a mock rose. I think they call them mock roses. I always love the sound of running water in the fountains. It's very therapeutic to be around the sound of running water. I'm sure you have experienced the same thing. We have some marigolds here in the front, and more zinnias there in the back. And we also have a few volunteer sunflowers coming up. I think everybody probably experiences that. Some more zinnias here. We also have our herb garden behind me right along the house. Have some thyme and some tarragon and some dill. Have some chives there. It's nice to have them right close to the house so that they're right next to our kitchen door. I would always encourage people to try to grow your own herbs. It's amazing the taste of the herb when they're fresh from the garden. So let's continue down the garden path here, and let's just take a look at some of the wildflowers that are growing along the edge of the lawn here. We have the beautiful Queen Anne's lace. It's amazing the intricacies of these flowers. Certainly we know there has to be a God that not only designed these flowers but also created them. And for myself, I know that God speaks to us in His Word, the Bible. There's another beautiful plant here. Now, I had a viewer I was talking to last week, and you know, I already forget the name of this person that told me this plant, but we had a nice conversation there. But I love the colors and the textures. So let's continue down along the edge of the woods here. Had some Hosta plants there. They were blooming. Looks like they're on their way out right now. I hear a cardinal in the background. There's some more Queen Anne's lace. We live on 10 acres here in Pennsylvania. And I built this pond about 25 years ago. It's 11 foot deep. It's what you would call a self-contained pond. It's and that fountain there is very helpful. It aerates the water. But the wildlife love the pond here. We get the blue herons that come in, and we had some geese in the spring. And that's a weeping willow. My wife had planted that by a little stick about 8 years ago, and it's been fun watching that grow. There's a little pretty wildflower right here. Just love these colors. Take a look out there at the meadow. Let's take a walk over here in the shade. But I just love how the sunlight just highlights the trees and all the beautiful flowers. Anyhow, I'm glad we could spend this time together. I would encourage you to enjoy your gardening, spend some time out there. It's a nice time to spend there away from a busy day, stressful day. And so until next time, this is Plant Smart Living with Farmer Fred.